Now, to open, we just go to the center. I like to just go up to find the center, slowly come in at an angle, always triangulating my fingers. And you go right to the base of the head. I like to throw with a sponge. It lets me throw with less water. And now we pull back. And the gate is being now formed by my forefinger against the wheel, the base of my palm, and the thumb of my left hand. Now if it goes off a little bit, that's fine, because you can always center the ring with a gate. All right, clean it to the edge of what will be the inverted bowl. And when you first start, don't worry too much about how much clay. I mean, it's good to have an idea of what the bowl you're aiming for is. Does it have a high bowl, inverted bowl? Does it have a shallow bowl? Are you going to go with a long outer wall, shoulder, short shoulder? In this case, I'm going to go for a fairly small bowl. I normally throw with 5 pounds. This is about 3. And I'm just going to go right and divide it in half. And I'm slowly just bringing it down to, I don't know, around 1/4 inch to the wheel head. I don't like throwing very, very fast. I actually throw fairly slow. Now we stage the clay, which means I kind of make sure that the amount of clay I've captured is centered. I have my left fingers deep right at the edge of that bowl. Now for a beginner, it's going to be easier to kind of throw a high bowl. So we're going to aim for a high bowl. It's just a more stable shape than a very shallow bowl. I'm actually taking some clay here from the base. If you need some water in the inside, just kind of put your finger against the shape and let the water run right up into the wall. And now we're just going to try to pull again to tighten this collar. Compress the lip, and if the lips are regular, go ahead and cut it. The key is that the wall be even. I wouldn't worry about any kind of deviations right now. Once you capture the air, you're going to be able to shape that. So now I'm kind of pushing down and choking that very tip to an opening that I can still get my finger through. Okay. As we choke, the wall actually gets thicker, right? Because you're pressing all of that clay back in on itself. And now you want to kind of lift that bowl up, and let me move my finger so you can see. You kind of grab it in the center and then kind of pull in that direction. Not in, down and in, against your finger. And that starts to give you enough clay to do the spout. And just aim for a spout. Okay? Don't worry about the waffle. See how that waffled up? You just reach your finger in and keep bringing that in. Make sure that your finger is very lubricated. And now I'm going to really tighten that in. Tighten it in, tighten it in. And now I'll just grab it. And again. There. Now you'll see that by going like this, I can take that bubble out. And we can shape that bowl. Now I do have a bit of a thickness here, which I'll correct. That's probably the wall waffling in a little bit. just cut this off. Yeah, too much power. Keep going. Just close that up. So now I'm going to actually cut a little bit off and start to kind of let it force it into that base, so that if you, as you did that little neck, you have this kind of divot, and now what you're trying to do is press the clay in so that that divot begins to disappear into the body. Now I'm starting to shape it, and it's really easy does it. I'm going to try to capture some of this into the shoulder. I lost a little bit of the diameter of the bowl, but I should be able to either get it back in the trimming. But enjoy it. Just try to find your way to it. Once you've got it sealed, you can actually play with it, flatten it if you wanted to. You can shape it any way you want, and you'll get the chance to in the trimming. I'm compressing the shoulder. Now you're going to grab the clay and stage it. So I'm grabbing all that clay, and now I'm going to make a gate with my hands and my fingers. In this case, it's my all the fingers in my right hand and the index and pointer, and I'm centering that clay. And now I get to decide, trying to clean that up before you close it off. A little bit of a divot. I get to decide what I want to do. In swept, out swept, tight. You can actually come at a point where you go, okay, well maybe I do want it smaller, so let's push it in. So there you go, we're going to get a smaller bowl now. And as long as you're still at that stage where you really just gathered and staged the clay, you've got a lot of choices, you've got a lot of freedom. So, I want to get it a little lot wider. So I'm going to put it out wide again. Okay, I'm going to go wide. I'm going to repress my shoulder. Stage the clay again. And once I start committing and tapering that wall upward, I start losing latitude depending on how thin that wall gets. So we've got enough clay here for a fairly high wall, so let's go for it. So I'm going to go slightly in, and just the way I did the bowl, I'm pushing up, and I like to keep that wall triangular, where this is always thicker than the level above it, except for the lip. The lip you always want to compress. And let's get a little bit more here. We've got it. Might as well play with it. And in this case, I'm just going to do kind of a bell. So it's got a nice wave shape to it. Our walls didn't end up being too close to each other, so I can reach in there, clean that up, and let's give the exterior wall a nicer finish there. I'm gonna belly it out a little bit more. Make sure that the foot's a little flatter where it might touch the table, so you don't have really sharp edges there. And maybe with the square end, really clean right at that shoulder. So we're going to cut this off. You'll find that the drying will happen, this will be much drier, but usually the shoulder and all the material inside is much wetter. A lot of that too comes from any water that was inside the bowl itself, underneath it. It becomes important to think about the drying and its position. Because the bowl has this flat shoulder, once you cut it off, if you dry it right side up, there'll be a tendency of the weight of that clay to deform the shoulder towards the bottom. Cut it off. And in this case, I will set it to dry now on a flat base, the same way I threw it. And then once a day has gone by, I will be able to flip it over, let it dry a little bit more, and then we can come back and trim it. Time to trim. First thing you want to do is refamiliarize yourself with the thicknesses of the throw. So I'm going from thin to a little thicker here. I have I have some material here closer to the bowl, which will allow me to cut it maybe with a slight curve into it. The end of the bowl from the outside is here, so I have a little bit here that I can begin to use to trim out. The nice thing about flat shoulder, if you look at the glazes you have in your studio, there are those glazes that will pool in the middle of the bowls, and they come up with some lovely glaze expressions, complex fluid expressions of color. Well, the flat shoulder on the double wall bowl gives that same opportunity for those kinds of glaze expressions, and it's one of the reasons why I really love the double wall bowl. So it's something to start to think about. Even when you begin to design the shape, how will that affect the ultimate glaze expression? First thing is we'll recenter the bowl. You know, sometimes when the edges are kind of tough and you want to recenter, you can take, and even though it's going to be slightly off, if you hold it down, follow the shape of the bowl, you can clean up this rough edge. Even if it's slightly off center, don't worry about it. Just kind of follow the shape of the bowl with your index finger. So I'm using this finger to tie myself to the bowl itself and bringing it in slightly. And that'll help me now clean this up just so I can get a better edge to center from. That's better. Okay. Now let's recenter. And it's not going to be perfect. You just want to get close. Put your clay pads in. Just give yourself a little mark here. This is the about the outside of the bowl as it comes in. This is about how far I want to be able to curve that, so we can curve that bowl. Our outside edge is pretty good now. First thing I want to do is get this bowl. I like to place my hand on the actual piece. I can also grab it here, so which helps me feel where the bowl is and allows my hand to adjust to the bowl. If it's a little bit off center, it guides me. Now this is a little drier, so I'm not going to be able to really push the clay like I do sometimes. So this is really just a straight trimming one on this one. Smooth out the spiral a little bit. I really don't have that much clay to cut anymore.
That's about right. You can get to the point where you can actually begin to get a sense of how much. Now I'm gonna try to draw just a line straight to cut an even flat. On this, you really don't want to guide yourself on the actual piece. You just want to stay very even. And if I get aggressive with the cutting, I like to put a little pressure on the piece so it doesn't shift. So I'm going to now take and really start to curl that. Take that portion off so that it's slightly inswept into the bowl in this case. Sweep off most of that because I want to re-moisten. We've got some here. There you go. Just a moist sponge, just to kind of soften up that surface a little bit. And I'm just going to polish the inside to get it really the inside in. And I'm using the rib in a very sharp angle to scraping the inside. So I'm scraping, as you can see. Just want to give it more of a curve. Now I'm just compressing it clean, trying to get some of those aggregate streaks out. I'm going to turn my attention to this curve. I just want to have a nicer meeting point to that. There we go. So please leave me your comments. Tell me what I can address or what problems you may be having. And I'd be happy to take a look at them or what you may be finding difficult or don't understand. Thanks again for watching. See you soon.